It's going to take a minute before people join, but we are currently live. Who would have thought we made it this far? So I'm going to go into YouTube and open up my channel among all this trash. There it is. Take this. Get out of here. Go here. I know, it's very exciting. Very exciting. And get rid of that. And post. There we go. So, it's still going to take a second before people start joining. We have 0 viewers. I can tell that because it counts this as a view.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I opened it on the other one, it counted that as a view.
Oh, yeah.
I can click play on here. Just going to wear the headphones for a second, but I can still hear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Woo! Look at this.
Some ASMR stuff.
Oh, that's the worst noise. I have, what is it called? Misophonia. Like the fear of noises, especially like noises of people eating. That shit kills me. I'm going to post the story on Facebook. There we go. Shared. And then once this goes public, I'll edit out some of the stuff in the beginning. Or maybe I won't. Who knows? We have a viewer. We have a viewer.
Welcome.
Ladies or gentlemen, or both, welcome to the stream. Today's a little different. I'm not just by myself today. I'm joined by...
Lars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Nice. Nice. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
I'm putting on the cool shades to start with.
I don't have any fast shades,
Well,
sorry.
you should have brought some.
Yeah, shit.
This is how it works around here. Roger, the loyal, the hero himself, Mr. Roger Holman, the first man in the chat. You broke the ice before I got to. And now I'm going to. Welcome to the chat. Stoked you're here. Roger, how's this party music sounding to you? How do we sound to you? How are the vocals, Roger? Let us know. You are our only feedback. You are our only hope. The Star Wars reference.
That's early for Star Wars reference.
I was watching a stream the other day where it was just one guy sitting with a Star Wars script, just a random movie, and 2 other guys had to go back and forth reciting the entire script from memory.
Oh, wow.
And they did it. They did it. They killed it. Roger says, been waiting for this one. Can't really hear the music. Everybody says that. I hear it so loud and clear. Here, listen. You can hear the music so loud. It's so clear in my headphones. But for everybody else, it's just not there. Or maybe the music paused. No.
Oh, it's here.
It's crazy. So I'll turn it up a little bit. Let's see. How's it sound now?
Well, it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit loud, maybe.
I think it's good if... Well, Roger, you can tell us if it's good or not.
See, Roger knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Roger's been my most loyal dude. So he knows. Stoked you're here. That's better. All right. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see if I can finish out this icebreaker. Welcome to the chat. Stoked you're here. Drop a line and let me know what's on your mind. Let's do this. Perfect. I am now officially a part of the chat.
I sort of need to be as well, I think. You want to join?
Yeah, do it. That'll give us another view as well. Woo! We'll be the most popular people on YouTube. Who would have thought? It is so weird taking off the headphones and not being able to hear, 1, myself, and 2, the music.
Yeah.
Because the music, for some reason, feels so like fundamentally key.
Is that a problem if we hit some not...
No. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. We'll just talk through it. It's a conversation. It's 2 dudes hanging out. We're going to wait a few more seconds. Ah, there he is. Lars is in the chat.
Oh.
Mr. Lars here right next to me himself. Hey, people, what's on your mind?
With the dyslexia? So, without the question mark, but...
Was there a question?
No. But still, you get what
fine.
I mean. Yeah.
It's fine. It's perfect.
No.
I see. There was supposed to be a question mark. No,
Yeah.
no. Unless somebody wants to be an asshole and speak up. I don't think anybody cares.
Well, it's the internet. You never know.
All my followers are assholes. No, great people. Salt of the earth. So just to give you guys a quick little intro about what's going to happen today. Lars is the foremost expert on Sony Alpha camera and lens technology in this room.
Well, thanks. Well,
so,
thank you.
We are going to be going through some of the awesome shit that Sony has going on.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about what's worked for us in terms of equipment.
Absolutely.
What could work for you. We want questions from you. We have a couple questions lined up from the Instagram story earlier on.
Yep.
We're going to go through them and we're going to answer and we're going to discuss the brand itself, Sony Alpha, who, by the way, is sponsoring this live stream, the brand that I believe in, and hopefully they believe in me.
We do.
I've been with Sony now for how many years? Do you know?
Well, longer than me. So.
Longer than you. Wow. I think I've been 4 or 5 years, something like that. Maybe. As a Sony Alpha ambassador, I'm pumped about that. It's time to get serious, so I'm taking off the fast glasses. And Sony is treating me right, and I'm super, super happy to be on board because there's never a dull day when it comes to Sony gear. I hope you agree.
Absolutely, I do. Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one person in the chat. I know there are more of you out there. If you are still not in the chat, I dare you to get in there. Ask us some questions. We will be reading everything. Tell me about what's going on in your day. We want to hear it.
Absolutely.
Treat this like your therapy session.
We're good listeners.
It's not just about camera equipment here. It's about life, love, stress, setbacks, all the above. Everything. We are here for you.
That's good.
Just for another minute or two, we're going to let everything warm up. We're going to listen to some music. It's not great music, but it's all I can afford because it's free. Let me know what you think about the audio levels. If we could be louder, softer. The music could be louder. Complain about the music. I know you want to. We have some example photos to share.
Yep.
At least from my side of the gear that I used to use in the past. We have some expert knowledge from Lars sitting next to me. We're going to dissect all of it. We're going to go through. I'm going to show you my first ever camera. I have it. It's sitting right here. You're going to have to wait to see that a little bit later in the stream. You know what? Maybe we should just get going. We're 5 minutes now started. Everybody who's here, I think, wants to hear us talk about some camera equipment.
Yeah,
So let's get into it.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to go first or you to go first about our history with Sony?
Well, I could start since mine's shorter than yours. But
You can start.
well, actually, it started with me changing to Sony from a different red brand.
What was that?
That's lights.
Oh, that was the light.
Yeah,
Where'd it go?
we're good.
Sorry, I'm breaking. Just ignore me. I'm breaking everything.
Oh, it's good. Well, it basically started with me changing to Sony because I wanted to do both video and photography, and the video part in the other brand was sort of lagging behind.
You can
meaning
say the name of the other brand.
Yeah.
People know they exist.
Yeah. I was figuring out magic lanterns and Canon firmwares and everything to get just zebras, and then of course Sony was the obvious choice when I was going to change.
I hope so.
Bought an R3, A7 R3.
Nice.
And so...
As we learned yesterday, by the way, everyone in my chat uses an A7R3.
Oh, wow.
So we are all on the same table here, so to speak. So you have good taste. You have good taste.
Thank you. Well, and then... oh, wow. Some construction.
What was that noise?
Do you hear that?
I hope you guys don't hear that. Well, okay. Continue.
Well, okay. Yeah. And then I saw the job offering.
Yes.
I applied, and they took me to Copenhagen and wanted me for an interview, and I got the job.
What was the job? What was the job offering? What did you read?
It's quite a big name. It's digital imaging specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, wow, it's fancy.
Special.
Wow. But, it's sort of is. Digital imaging is just a fancy word for the alpha cameras for Sony. So, and then I'm a product specialist for the Norwegian market.
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass.
So then I started running around Norway, or driving and flying around all of Norway, keeping all the stores up to date and all the clients and everything. So
cool. Which makes you, once again, the most intellectual man in the room on the Sony Alpha brand.
yeah, let's stick to that.
We will stick to that.
Yeah.
So what's your day-to-day look like then with Sony?
Well, usually when Corona don't hit, it's traveling around, teaching store staff about new cameras, teaching new customers their new cameras, doing events with people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up an event actually.
Yes.
Quite soon, the 19th to the 20th.
Yes, we are going exploring.
In Nordmarka.
We are going exploring. We will release the specifics and the sign-ups later. Not too soon, not too late. But you are all invited. So I fully expect to see all of your faces there. Stream team for life.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's good. So it's everything from flying to Tromsø to Trondheim, where I'm from, and hanging out with cool people that knows a lot, and hopefully I can teach them something.
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass. And I have learned bunches.
Thank you.
Bunches from you.
Likewise.
And I'm about to learn some more because we have some new gear here that we're not going to show just yet.
Nope.
It's secret. It's right here. You can't see it, right? Okay, you can't see it. It's badass. It's super cool, and I don't know too much about it, but I know Lars knows more than I do.
Yep.
Hopefully. Otherwise, we got to make some shit up.
Yep.
And we are going to talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to go a little bit into my history with Sony.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, just a taste. So I've been a Sony Alpha ambassador for roughly 4 years. I'm going to go ahead and say 4 or so years. The first Sony Alpha camera I ever bought was part of Sony's initiative to sort of advance the DSLR technology and the whole culture around DSLRs. Yep. Sony wanted to change that and make the whole game a little bit faster. So when I first bought a camera, I saw that and I thought that was badass. I thought that was awesome. I was sold immediately. It was a guy in the store who just said, look, this, and I bought it. Fun fact, I bought my first Sony camera with my student loan. I spent my student loan on that, so I went without a few meals for a little time there while I was studying.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I took that camera and I ran and I shot everything and anything I could. I shot a lot of action stuff because I was really into skiing, and I brought the camera with me everywhere. Every time I went skiing, the camera was with me. And I sort of figured out that I was like the only dude in Norway who was shooting action with a Sony camera, because Sony was still kind of losing the market to the bigger guys, the Canon, the Nikon, and those who shall not be named. Yep. No. And so I figured out through my American mentality who it was I should contact at Sony.
Yep.
Funny enough, Sony doesn't have that kind of a presence here in Norway. So I figured out who was the closest person, and I sent an email and I said, you know what, how about Monday at 12 o'clock? I just come in and I show you what I got going on. And that was awesome. And I went in and I had this whole presentation prepared. It was rad. It took me just 30 minutes to show the photos and talk about sort of my mentality when it comes to photography and the way I want to progress and how I would progress with Sony. And the dude who I talked to said, that's cool. And I didn't hear back. I wasn't near good enough. I looked back at those photos not too long ago, and they were shit. They were terrible.
We advance.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Yep.
And I wanted to advance with the technology, so I kept shooting, and I kept sort of building onto those skills. And the more I built onto them, the more I started to realize that maybe I could go back and offer. So I called again. I said, hey, can I come by again Monday at 12, and I'll show you what I got going on. And this time, I showed the photos, and it was awesome. I was super proud of myself because the photos were a million times better, and the same thing happened. He said, okay, cool. I never heard back from him. And then Sony announced a camera that would change my life, which was the A99 II. The A99 Mark II was Sony's second ever semi-translucent body that was full frame. And I heard about that, and I'm pretty sure this song is going to get me copyright stricken, so I'm going to skip it. And I heard about that, and I immediately called the guy up. And before I could say anything, He said, you heard about the new camera, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, I need it. I need it. Not only that, you guys need to show that I'm using it. It's going to be dope. And he said, okay, cool. Let's bring you in. I'll put you in touch with the people you need to know. And let's sign something. So it took me like a year, maybe a year and a half of just straight begging to make it happen. Just straight begging.
Cool.
But eventually I figured out that there was a direction that they wanted me to go. There was a kind of style that made sense for the brand, and that's something that I worked on. I worked on showing off the brand as much as I could through my photos and showing off how technically advanced everything was, and then going back. And that's sort of my history with Sony. Ever since, I've been pretty happy.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
pretty happy. No. I've been ecstatic. I've been having such a good time shooting with Sony, and
that's good.
That brings us here. Before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If you're new to the stream, my name is Kyle Meyr. This is Lars Kvaløy.
Yep.
If you didn't know my name, I wonder how you found me. That's pretty impressive. Iver is in the chat. He is setting an example. He says, hey, I made it. Pumped you made it, Iver. Happy to have you here. Also a loyal stream chatter. Pumped you're here. Roger is pumped he's here. And guess what? If you join the chat as well, you can also join the conversation. I read everything that is being put in the chat. I will respond to every question, except for the ones that aren't worth responding to. But I've never had that happen. You could be the first. If you join the chat, you could be the first. You could ask a question that I don't even want to respond to. How cool would that be? Either way, join the chat. Tell me about your day. Vent about what's going on in your life. I'm here to hear it. Treat me as therapy. And let's keep moving. So we've created a little talking list. I want to go back and reference that and see where we're at. Let's talk about our styles of photography. What kind of photography do you tend to lean towards?
Well, my that's sort of different from my off time stuff and the paid work I do, because somehow I got tangled into wedding photography.
Tangled into wedding photography.
Yeah, well, it seems hard to get out, but it's good. Yeah, I love it. But then again, it's nothing. Well, it's not happening in my free time. So my spare time is not weddings.
No,
so therefore,
that'd be an interesting hobby.
More cars, and it's not that far away from you actually.
Cars.
I bring my. Well, I really like cars.
Yes.
I like adventure. I like architecture, which I know Roger likes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roger is the man. Roger Holman when it comes to architecture.
You should check him out.
Speaking of the chat, Philip Holman is here again. I am pumped you made it, Philip. I fully expected you to be here. Yeah. I have gotten your question on Instagram. We will get to answering that towards the end of the stream if you feel like hanging in there. I promise you guys the stream won't be as long as the other ones. It won't be 2 hours. Sorry if I let some of you down. Congratulations if I made some of you happy. 2 hours is just too long to do right now with two people talking about gear.
Yeah.
So we'll try to hold it to about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We'll see what we do, what we end up with.
Great.
So you are shooting more cars, and because of that...
Well, I hope to shoot more cars.
You hope to shoot more, okay.
Yeah, and I probably bring my camera everywhere if I get to.
Yes.
And then it's more of a shoot what you want to on the go, sort of. And I like to travel as well, so that's the greatest pictures I've taken is probably from my travels. So what's your ideal for each situation? What camera do you bring with you when you're shooting cars, when you're shooting weddings, and when you're shooting travel? Well, the camera body is usually the same. It's either I'm fortunate, so I have an R4 and an R3, and I have an A9. So, yeah. So R4, R3, and A9. The full setup. Yeah, I have the full setup. I have an A7 III as well, but yeah. So I have the whole bunch. Oh my lord. So I can sort of, I'm lucky in the way that I can bring the gear I want to this, type of event that I do. So the perks of working for Sony. Yeah. So some of the perks of the working for Sony is the G Master stuff, because it's really, really good glass. Yes. So for the wedding stuff, it's usually a 24-70 as a sort of standard, the 2.8 G Master, a 70-200, and an 85 1.4. Great lenses. Sort of that's the three that I always have. You start at 24. You don't have anything wider. Well, or you don't like bringing anything wider. Well, it's usually the new 20 is the new. Well, it's usually in the bag now. Okay. But, usually, actually, the 24 was the widest. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's usually only for my style, it's usually only the group shots. I need anything wider, sort of.
Yeah.
And depending on the church and everything, of course.
Yeah.
But 24 is actually, for weddings, that's usually the widest, yeah.
That's not so bad. That's not so bad to limit yourself to 24. It's kind of a fun challenge as well, at least for somebody like me who's addicted to wide angle lenses.
Yeah.
I love wide lenses.
But
So having anything tighter, having anything as tight as 24 as being like my restriction, that kills me.
Yeah, but that's a different type of. If I'm bringing the camera down to Oslo to do some architecture, it's usually the 12 to 24 or something.
Okay.
Or the 24 1.8, the 20 1.8.
Yes.
Or the 24 1.4. So
badass.
yeah, so I really like wide angles as well, but so for other stuff than portraits and people and faces, that's usually I stop at 24.
Yes.
Well,
it can get a little weird.
Face a bit better, yeah.
We have a very familiar face in the chat. Mr. Johansson is awesome. Could you please leak the release date of Sony A7S III? Well, Mr. Johansson, if you check under your chair, no, we will never give you that information. How dare you even ask that? Truth is, I don't know. Nobody knows. Sony doesn't tell us the shit. But
Sony doesn't tell me, and I'm working Sony. So.
We will speculate on some of this stuff a little bit later if you want to hear some of our opinions on the matter. Is there anything else gear-wise that you sort of are leaning towards now? Anything is changing as you're growing?
Well, I actually sometimes I started out on 50 as a portrait lens. Actually, because I came from the 70, which was a crop sensor, and then I moved up to the 5D, and then switched to Sony. So I went from 50 to 85 because I like the tighter look, and the bokeh is just so silky and smooth on an 85.
It's unbeatable.
Yeah. So and then actually now I'm starting to think about bringing the 135.
That's a badass lens.
Just for really tight shots. If you don't need the whole body, because then you would need to step back way back. Yeah. So if you're gonna do sort of half shots, that's a really really good lens. It's probably the best out there in the focal length.
I need to try it.
Yeah.
I need to try it. The last time I tried a 135, right?
Yeah.
Last time I tried a 135 was I was shooting a boxing match with the A99 Mark II.
Oh.
And it was so hard to use. Such a tough lens, but with the autofocus, it's so useful. I love that lens. I love it. I need to get one again. Play with it. Come up with something to shoot. Yeah. So with the adventure stuff, if you're traveling and shooting some nature stuff, do you sort of deviate in your lens preferences?
Well, if I had to bring one, it's probably the 1635.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just everything usually I need. I could do portraits with it, and I do landscape. I do everything. It's fast.
That's the lens.
Yeah, it's the best thing out there. So
I love that.
Now it's actually somebody dropped it. So it's
somebody dropped it.
Yeah.
Did it break?
Yeah.
Like in half, or how badly? How bad was the break?
Well, it doesn't look like it's broken. It's just something internal that doesn't go around because it was quite badly dropped. So it's in the workshop now, but hopefully I'll get it back soon. Yeah.
We have a question from Philip. He says, "Is there any reason for me to upgrade from the A7 III to the A7R III on the video set?"
Well, to go like full on geek mode, some of the difference is the bigger sensor. So if you only use the full sensor, full frame mode, it's actually slightly better output from an A7 III.
Yeah.
If you do crop mode, it's actually slightly better from the R3 because it has more oversample. But once you go full frame, it's too much information, so it does different downsample techniques, which
that is very nerdy.
It's very nerdy, but otherwise it's not that big of a difference between the cameras. They're built on the same platform. It's the Generation 3, so the biggest leap would be up in the R4, which has the eye autofocus in video and also real-time tracking and everything. So that's the real beast if you want to do a real jump. Yeah. But if you have an A7 II now, A7 III, I'd probably rather keep the money or spend it on glass, or well, save up for an R4 in the future.
Agreed. If you want a camera that compromises and does both, it's much more useful to stay away from the resolution cameras. Yeah. They do kick ass. Like, I trust my A7R III with my life, especially for the stuff that I film where it doesn't need to be like perfect in low light. It just needs to do the fundamentals and really nail it.
Yeah.
And it kills it in like slow-mo. You can get like 120 frames a second. It's a badass setup. But to have that kind of sensitivity that you're getting from the A7 III, that's a good reason to sort of hang back.
Yeah.
And we cannot understate how valuable I ran out of English. We cannot understate how valuable it is to invest in glass.
Yeah.
To invest in new lenses. That's really where the creative direction comes from.
Yeah, and especially in a system like Sony with the same mount all over. So if you have a 6000 series, like an A6100 or even a 6000, you can still buy the good glass because you know it'll be with you if you buy an A7 III, for example, in the future.
Tom is asking if the video focus is better on the A7 III.
Well, technically it's not better, but it's slightly more points on the sensor. So it covers 93% of the sensor. So it's 600 and something face points and 425 contrast points, I think. Or
yeah, good question.
And then on the R, it's 399 instead of 693. So it's...
We can check if we want, but that might take a second, and I don't know if it's worth it.
No, but basically, if the subject or the object gets out of frame or gets close to out of frame, the A7 III has more points to cover the parts of the frame which are closer to being outside, sort of.
See, this is why I need you here.
Yeah, so that's basically the only difference in the camera, like focus wise, I think.
See, I don't know these things. When it comes to this stuff, I am so bad at remembering these numbers.
You would not really. There's actually also. We need to get back to you on this, but I think it's you have object tracking on the A7R III, which you don't have on the A7 III.
Okay.
So it's actually slightly better. But that's, well, it's not very. Again, the R4 is the real difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what a difference it is.
Yeah, because it does the autofocus and everything is just so much faster.
The eye autofocus on the R4 is phenomenal with filming. It saves so much. Just desperately trying, and so many missed shots.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna change the song real quick because this one is exhausting. So we are back. So my kind of photography.
Yeah.
I'll go really briefly into that and just sort of explain my setup.
Absolutely.
Not to be all about me. I spend like 2 hours a day talking about me on this thing anyway. I shoot, right now it's mostly cars and adventure. There's a lot of commercial stuff. There's a lot of commercial stuff. So I need something that delivers a very good quality photo. For me, it's not really about like the ease of use. It's about the final product and having that look as good as it can get.
Yeah.
So for me, the R series cameras are really unstoppable. Yep. The A7Rs. The A7R III is the one I currently use. I talked about that a bit yesterday. It is the one that's currently pointed at us. I'm just going to make sure this isn't copyrighted. It is the camera that I have on my hip constantly. And I film a little bit with it, but I don't do much filming. I'm kind of scared of filming. Things get really complicated and really expensive.
Real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stick with the R. In terms of the bodies, I go up the R range. I've played with the A7R IV. I love that camera. The files that come out of that are just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Mind-blowing. The amount of detail. You can get really into stuff like if you want to change the color on a brake caliper of a car that's driving through like a fjord. You have the whitish, you can really get in there and really, really play with it and get it perfect. And to me, that's invaluable. That's something that I really need and really use constantly.
Yeah.
My lens setup reflects that quite a bit as well. I shoot wide a lot. I love shooting wide because to me, there's storytelling is key with photos.
Yeah.
There's nothing more. Oh my god! Oh my god! Now's the worst time for that. I'm guessing you guys can hear that clear as day. Tell me how annoying that sound is in the chat. I want to know. Oh, that's disastrous.
Like the wall was going to come down.
That is a hammer drill. Somebody is hanging something on the wall next door. Either that or we're annoying them and they're trying to get back at us. Roger, oh no, oh, it's really loud. Oh no. Okay, let's just hope that's
hopefully just one picture.
Yeah, hopefully that's the end of it. I'm sure it's not. Tom, so fun fact, Tom lives in the same building. He says it's not him.
Yeah.
Jesus, okay, that's exhausting. But anyway, my glass likes to tell a lot of stories. I like to get the wide stories, and I like to be able to show a lot of context behind the models, a lot of context behind the cars, context just sort of in general.
Yep.
To me, that is key. Hebrew says, I thought that was here. No, it's not you, although I appreciate the compliment. My microphones are that amazing. Yes. So I use, for example, the lens that is on my camera right now, the 16-35 f2.8. I use that lens religiously.
Yep.
Religiously. The focal range alone, 16-35, is just a do-it-all.
Yep.
The thing is phenomenal. The aperture, the f2.8, to be able to shoot handheld at sunset is just something that you can't replace.
No.
It's just super, super useful. We have some questions. It says, I like Sony cameras to have 2x A9 plus A7R plus...
A7 III and the...
Oh, A7 III plus A7R4. My God, Kali, you got to stop spending your money on cameras, man. You got to start investing in bonds and global index funds. But had a PBLM, what is that? Pocket Black Magic? I'm just gonna skip this song really quick. When recording video on double cards for safety and one of the cards failed recording, stopped with big error message. Is there a setting to make the camera continue to record but on one card? Whoa.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one. You came with a very specific problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Not
a problem.
Short for problem.
But had a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I actually don't know. I don't think so. If one card stops, I think the recording will stop. Usually it's not the card that's failing. So that's sort of a backup recording to 2 and not to 1. So of course, if that's a hustle and it gives you more problems than safety, I'd probably turn it off. But I really haven't had the problem. Yeah, it's a really good use of double cards to have the safety, but I always shoot to 2 cards just to have a backup. If something happens with the card in the transfer or in my backpack or something, I usually shoot film to 2 cards. And then photos, I usually shoot JPEGs to one and then RAW to another.
Okay.
But if one, I actually haven't had the problem of one stopping, so I need to figure that out.
No, I haven't heard that either. That might be useful to know, though. And I appreciate that.
Why don't I check?
Notice.
And I come back to Kvaløy.
Tom says, get a recorder/screen, and it's fixed. Expensive, though. Yes, it is expensive. Yeah. Also, you shouldn't have to.
No, and if it's on a gimbal, it's not always the easiest.
No, could be a pain in the ass.
So it's not always the best thing.
There are plenty of values to having a recorder/screen, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's be honest about that.
Yeah, it's a small screen on the back.
Not so common, but recorded maybe 300 small movies. Okay, so it's a rarity. But yeah, man, that shouldn't be happening.
Has it happened on all the bodies you have, or one specific model?
That's a good question. We'll have to wait for 15 seconds for that question. Oh, no, stop. Oh, my God. That is the worst noise. No, it's the worst time for that. Oh.
Dude, that's loud.
My God.
Happened only once.
Ah, okay.
Let's hope it actually just happened once.
Yeah.
Oh.
How loud is that noise? Can you still hear me over that? I can barely hear myself speak, so I fully understand
Myself. Think.
So, to continue with the lens lineup, I also use a 51.4, which I use as a really, really solid portrait lens that also is wide enough to capture tons of detail. And you can back up and shoot full body and still have a good bokeh with the 1.4. But if I need more, I have usually all the time I have my 85 1.4 with me. Yep. I love that lens. I love that lens. I do everything with that lens. And I just ordered a polarizing filter for that lens so I can shoot more car stuff with it as well. It's such a good do-it-all. I think it's underrated. I think it gets locked into the sort of portrait only thing. And I really wish people saw it as more of a do-it-all lens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great lens. And that's my setup. If I'm shooting action, I do bring a 70-200 2.8. But that's a heavy lens.
It's big.
It is, though, maybe the most important lens that I own because what it does cannot be replicated by anything else.
Yeah, no.
It's phenomenal.
Really good. I also always bring mine in a wedding because I can't compromise on the reception, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many moments you just have to have. Even with 61 megapixels, you can always crop, but just having it tight 200 in the church, it's a must-have.
Yep.
Yeah, because I can always do 70 and then crop, but it's not the same. It really isn't.
No, it really isn't. You don't really get that depth of field. And 70-200, as useful of a focus range as it is, for me, 2.8 is key. Having the aperture, being able to open it wide and shoot at low lights, especially if I'm shooting something like skiing or something that's moving very fast, I need to focus on shutter speed. So if I don't have to worry about aperture, that's phenomenally useful to me.
And it is actually also a quite good portrait lens.
It's a great portrait lens. It's like the fashion lens, right?
Yeah, because they tend to forget because it's a sport lens. It's white. It's supposed to be in the arena. But it's actually really good for portraits as well.
Yeah. So Philip asks, could you guys please explain the polarization filter? Is it only for stills? It is for everything. So the way a polarizer works is it basically gets rid of reflections on shiny surfaces. And not just shiny surfaces, but anything. But the way it works is that you twist it, and there's one spot, basically, you can think of it as one spot on the filter, that as you twist it, it sort of moves around the frame and hits different areas of the frame and different sort of like reflection points, angles at which the light reflects. So for cars, for example, if you're shooting a car at 45 degrees, it helps immensely. Especially if you're shooting with like something complicated that's reflecting off the paint and back at your camera. So that for me is key. You can film with it. I guess it's kind of difficult because you only have the one spot where it works. But for example, if you're filming through like a window and you know where your model's going to be, that must be insanely useful. Yeah,
but also like we all know the problem with cheap sunglasses driving and the road gets wet and the sun comes down.
Yeah,
it's really, really bright. If you have polarizer sunglasses, it's basically the same thing. It removes the reflection from the spot, which is the ground, and that's one angle sort of. So in movies, if you're filming in a situation like that, it's really helpful. It also brings out darker blues in your sky if you twist it to the right. So it's more of a creative than a must-have for movies.
Yes.
But for photography with reflective surfaces, either it's product shoots or cars.
I can't live without it.
Yeah, no.
Or if you're shooting like a lake, for example, if you're shooting a big, like a fjord or something, you can get rid of some of the brightness in the water by turning a polarizing filter. And that makes such a richer blue in the water. Yeah. So much prettier.
That's helpful for movies as well.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But if you want to have some filters for your movie making, I'd rather have an ND filter because then you can stop down opening the aperture instead. And that sort of is a more must-have for movies than a polarizer if you're thinking about trying some filters.
Thanks. Which polarizing filter do you use for the 16 to 35? So I use Hoya. Hoya is like a cheap alternative, but it's really good. It hasn't really let me down at all. It's an 82, at least on the 2.8s, aperture lens. It's an 82 millimeter diameter filter that you'll need. That's different from lens to lens. So you just need to sort of figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Roger says, I have been using polarizing filter for my architecture shots. Super effective.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
It must be perfect for that, to get rid of glare in windows, shiny buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And little fun fact, if you merge two photos together in Photoshop, you can use the polarizer to hit different parts of buildings or cars.
Yep.
And then get a completely still product or a completely clean product. So polarizer is super useful, especially for cars and anything reflective. What was the next point we were thinking of touching on? Let's talk about where we started with our gear. I can start this time.
The start? Or the
start?
Because that was like, I was 4 years old, and I got this polarizer thing. Shot like passport size.
Oh, like a
photos.
Polaroid?
Yeah, Polaroid.
Oh, badass.
Yeah, so that was my first camera.
That was your first camera.
And then a VGA resolution digital, like a brick.
We should do a challenge where we have to use that camera.
Yeah.
And go out for a day.
I
and
actually
see.
have the first one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Still? Badass. And I still have mine. My first camera is this, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's actually not this. This might not be healthy product placement for Sony, but this is the A35. My first camera was the A33. It died. It died a pretty horrible death, something I had no control over. And Sony ended up giving me the upgraded one because of it. Which, thank you, Sony.
That's what warranty is for.
That was my first ambassadorship deal. But it was nice getting upgraded. That was awesome. But anyway, this APS-C sensor, the technology behind this camera, I'm guessing autofocus is going to have a tough time checking this camera out. Yeah, exactly.
We have new gear that could do that, actually.
We do have new gear. Autofocus should be able to cling onto it, but it's not. Whatever. That's my fault. This camera uses a semi-translucent mirror, which means that the mirror, instead of reflecting all the light straight up and then having to flip up when you took the photo and flip down so the light would hit the sensor, it didn't have to move.
Yep.
So the mirror could just let in some of the light to the sensor and then bounce some of the light up to the viewfinder at the same time, which was revolutionary and I think was the first step to really just getting rid of the mirror altogether. And that's the reason I bought it. And this was in 2010, I think, was the first time I spent my student loan on a new camera.
Yep.
And I'm still, I guess, technically paying for. But I love this thing. And once the A99 came out, which was the full frame version of it, I just became obsessed and enthralled. And this, to me, was like the most phenomenal equipment I ever owned.
Yeah, it's really
fantastic.
Cool. Definitely.
What was your guys' first camera? Everybody in the chat, I want to know, what was your first camera? How far have you come? And how proud of you I must be that you've made it there. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what other people started with.
Yeah, that's cool.
My first lens was this. It's a kit lens. It was 18 to 35 f 3.5 to 5.6.
55, 35.
What did I say? 18 to 55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it all.
Yeah.
Not great, but it does it all. And if you're just starting the kit lens, there's no shame.
Yeah.
You'll never be able to push. Sorry, I'm dying here. I'm getting emotional. If you're just starting photography, chances are you won't know how to push a prime f1.4 85 lens to its max anyway. So there's no harm in just starting out with the cheaper kit lenses, and I really use this thing to the max.
Yeah, and
I beat it up.
Usually you get a good deal, so you almost don't pay for the lens. So just bring it so you can show it, and then show it. You're gonna show something.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Well, bring the lens because you can do fantastic stuff with them as well. You just know the limitations of it. Yeah, they're really good.
So this photo was shot with this lens at 18 millimeters.
It's a cool shot.
It's a fun shot. It's very playful, and it's funny to look back at some old photos. But I love that. I love that lens. It was good at everything. It did everything very well. And then the first lens I actually spent money on was a 51.4 normal lens. And that thing, I used that for everything. I shot skiing with that. And I thought it was so cool because you could get like even some of the stuff, even though I was really far away, some of the stuff in the background was out of focus. And I thought that was the sickest. I used it for just walking around town, like doing some pans, getting some. This is back when I lived in London. What a terrible time that was. More skiing. This time I could get up close and sort of get that smashed almost telephoto effect. And since I was shooting on, I think for this shot I was shooting on this camera still, which meant that the photo was a little bit tighter in terms of the zoom. So that lens I've always loved. That was badass. And from there, I expanded into the 11 to 16, the Tamron, which was a blast. That lens was fantastic. Shot on this camera once again, my first camera. This was the first time I could really shoot wide, like ultra wide, and I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with it. I was shooting tons. What else was shot on the ultra wide? This was shot on. No, I won't go there yet. This was shot on the 50 back in London once again. It's been a long time since I've seen these photos. Oh my God, they're not great. They're not great. Huh? I appreciate that. I'm begging for compliments right now. I'm just gonna scroll back over so we can check the chat and see what's going on with you guys.
Ooh, some cameras.
Some cameras. Philip Holman says Canon 600D.
That's a common starting point.
That was a common starting point.
Definitely.
Damn, we have come a long way since then.
Yeah.
Tom says Nikon D80 with a 1685. Also, just a workhorse.
Yeah.
These cameras were meant to be used and abused, and I hope you guys did that.
Yep.
Kala says Nikon D700 plus the Sigma 31.4. For a crop sensor camera, a 31.4 is one of the greatest lenses you can start with.
Yep.
You will learn so much because it equals a normal lens on a full frame camera, a 50 millimeter. That is a badass place to start.
Absolutely.
Totally rad place to start. Fun fact behind this photo, I snuck into this building. Somebody was about to close the door and I just walked in right after them. And I was super young and super nervous and I took the elevator to the top floor, managed to open a window and shoot out. And this is the reflection of the window that was open just below it. Cool. I was super proud of that. I was shooting cars as well. My God.
You've evolved. I'd say you've evolved.
That is an ugly photo. Also an ugly car. I'm sorry if you own an Audi Allroad, but I do not like it.
What's happening in the back?
It is daylight creeping in through the windows. My God, there's so many better ways to shoot this photo. What was I doing? Anyway, this is the first time I bought a flash. I figured out how to pop the flash off the camera, and I was using this setup here, exactly this setup with an off-camera flash. And I put the flash, I think it was up here or something, just pointed this way towards the car, and it's a disaster. But you know what? It was a fun place to start.
Hopefully learn something.
Very fun place to start. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what not to do. And also learned that my photography could really benefit with a longer lens.
Yep.
So I bought a, sorry, I'm hiccuping all over the place. I bought a 7-8-200, 2.8. And I started shooting stuff like this, more big skiing, more big vibes with longer distances between the models and the background. And I thought it was so much fun that you could compress the two and get like the model here above the horizon in the dramatic sky. This is Andreas Holtveit's. This is the same spot with Øystein Brodden. Øystein, current Olympic gold medalist. Badass dude. This is back when we had no idea that was ever going to happen. We just loved shooting. We were in the same spot, same time. We shot together. Fun times. But those are my three first lenses. Was this kit lens, a 51.4 and a 70 to 200 2.8.
Yep. Cool.
Very useful lens, focus lengths. I still use all these focal lengths evenly. Obsessed with it. Totally obsessed with it. Let's go back to yes, us, because that's all you want to see, right? So I'm very happy that's where I am now. So the current setup, we talked about that a little bit already.
Yep.
I'm using the A7R3. with 3 lenses mainly: the 16-35 2.8, the 50 1.4, and the 85 1.4 G Master. Beautiful.
Cool.
Super happy there. Never gonna leave.
Yep.
But you happen to bring in a brand new camera from Sony's lineup. Can you talk a little bit about this thing and show it? Ta-da!
It's a ZV-1. So it's the newest of the newest in the family. Just came out the 26th I think, of May. It's in short terms, it's a vlogging camera or a type. Do you want me to show you your setup? 'Cause now they're seeing your setup.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's no worries.
So it's a point and shoot, really handy little camera. Comes without the grip, of course.
Yeah.
So it's a compact size. Looks like the RX100. If you've known the RX100, it's quite similar. It's more of a point and shoot though, for movies. So it's a really easy to use. So if you're starting with film and just want to have something, for example, showing something to the camera,
Yes.
and having it focus, there's a button for it. If you want to have, so that's the product showcase
Yeah.
button. So that's pre-programmed for on the trash can, and then on the top you have a bokeh button, so you can hit a separate button to have it open the aperture and bring in an ND filter if it's really bright.
That's badass.
Yeah. So
And this is not just like a gimmick that like a phone would use. This
no.
It is actually really using the aperture within the lens.
yeah, this is actual bokeh. So it's really fast 24-70,
Mm-hmm.
1.8 to 2.8 zoom lens on there. So it's really handy for just normal stuff. And it's shotgun mic on the top, so you can hear yourself really clearly.
So it's directional, the microphone,
Yeah.
for when you're filming yourself
Yes.
or whatever it is you're filming.
Comes with a dead cat.
It comes with the dead cat.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah. So the mic is actually flush. It's just a dead cat on top to bring out the wind noise.
Fantastic.
So if you're into something, if you are thinking about upgrading from something like an iPhone or a cheaper small compact camera, you want to do some content creation, this is really the way to go. It's maybe a bold statement, but I think this is going to be the benchmark for vlogging, really, because it's.
It looks like it. I
yeah.
love that thing.
And the stabilization in it, it's really, really stable. It's almost like walking with a gimbal.
I love that thing.
Yeah. So it's really, really good.
I'm pumped about that. I'm pumped. Somebody finally decided to go full send and focus on a quote unquote vlogging camera.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sony is trying to brand it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very
Cool.
much so.
Good.
So it's
Good.
Yeah. So if you hopefully if you search for a vlogging camera now, this will pop up. If you don't pop up, it's called a ZV-1. So
ZV-1.
Yeah.
Which in American sounds way cooler than ZV-1.
Yeah.
ZV-1.
ZV-1.
Ugh.
Som heter på trøndersk.
ZV-1.
Yeah.
It's cooler. It sounds like a Corvette name. I like it.
It does. Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
It's a flip out screen also, if I didn't mention. So you can see yourself.
That's so useful.
And
Because it
it's
took the
also-
RX 100 quite a long time to catch up with that.
Yeah, it's actually flipping up.
Yeah.
Then again, if you have something if you have a microphone on there,
Yeah.
it's going to be in the way. So
Yeah.
now it's on the side, and you can see yourself vlogging.
That's such a dope camera.
Whatever.
Can you talk a little bit about the handle?
Yeah, this handle is sold separately.
Mm-hmm.
There's a campaign now. If you pre-book the camera, not to go into full sales mode, but then again, you get this half price. So it's 1,000 kroner instead of 2,000 kroner.
Oh, that's not bad.
This is a small tripod with tilting and
Yeah, like the head is
turning.
actually movable. That's
Yeah.
really nice.
So that's really nice. It's Bluetooth connected to all the newest Alpha cameras. So
Okay.
Alpha
Bluetooth.
A7 III and up.
So you
So
don't
you can-
you don't have to plug anything in.
Yeah, you
Oh,
don't have
thank
to have a
God.
cable in there. And this is a power zoom, of course. This is a compact camera, and then you can zoom with the grip.
Oh,
Well,
it's a genius.
yeah, and you have the C1 button, so that's the same as this. So it does the
Okay, if you
off
want
and
it.
on. Yeah, of course you can.
But it's customizable. You go,
yeah.
okay.
It's a C for customizable.
So you can put whatever you want there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So this does not only work for the new camera, but all the newest cameras from Sony. So basically, if you have anything newer than an A7 III.
I need it. I need it. Look at this. Oh, it's so smooth too. It works so well.
Yeah.
It's so often people release a product like this and it's so janky, but this is so smooth.
A slight small detail also as you don't tighten this till it stops.
Yeah.
The tighten part is just how hard is it going to be to move the head.
Yeah.
But the head is actually moved in sort of clicks, so it's always stuck there.
Ah.
So it's not like you undo the screw and the camera falls over.
Oh, thank God.
So that's also a big part. And you can have it from selfie mode. Well, this is easier showing with the camera on there.
Yeah, yeah. Because the thing about that is if you're going to keep filming and you want to change or turn it around to film something else in front of you, it is so easy that it accidentally just falls over.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to have full reign. Also, if you're filming yourself, typically you have it kind of at that angle.
Yep.
Where it's tilted up like that. But if you're turning it around to film something else, you want to change the angle. That's so fast.
And also, if you put it down, you want to angle it back up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a really handy tool.
That's a cool tool.
Yeah.
Can we appreciate the fact that there are ND filters built into that?
In the camera. That's really cool.
That is so useful.
Yeah, because then you can have actual bokeh in daylight.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that terrible frame skipping that a lot of people are getting out of their vlogs. Where you get it gets kind of janky, especially when you're doing slow pans of something or whatever.
Keep the shutter speed at 1/50th.
Fantastic. Then you don't need to switch, put on new filters, and oh my God.
It's really cool. So it was not the S3, sorry, but it's almost as cool.
Can we talk about the S3? Can we
talk about it.
Can we discuss rumor? I got the okay from Sony that we can talk about rumors.
Okay.
And we can go as hard as we want into rumors. So if you guys have any questions about rumors, or you want to bring any rumors up, or you want to just discuss about things you would like to see from Sony, drop it in the chat. I'm here for you. Because you know what? We're just as curious as you guys are.
Absolutely.
They tell us nothing. They tell us nothing. We know nothing. So we're going into this with only our rumors in mind. What do you think is going to happen in terms of the A7S III? And what are you expecting from that camera?
Well, hopefully, I'm hoping it's going to turn up soon. And if
it's
the
real.
rumors, I hope it's real. I hope it's happening. Yeah. And of course, I make a lot of movies. I tend to focus on that more than the photography part these days. So I really like the aspect of having some updated functions in the movie part. Hopefully we'll have maybe we'll have some more frames in 4K per second.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Well, it's a dangerous guess, but hopefully a few more bits in the video stream as
well.
well.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That'd be nice.
And well, if they have that, the ISO capabilities of the S2 and the focus of the R4, I'm basically in dreamland. That's an awesome, dope camera. But then again, they've told us to expect more, so hopefully we'll have.
Yeah, and we should. It's Sony.
Yeah, they've said they'll overcome our expectations. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have even more than that.
I really hope that this is fully focused on the sensitivity side of things. I hope there's no compromise. Yep. I'm hoping the sensor stays below whatever the I guess right now the A7 III is the standard. Yeah. I hope the sensor stays more scattered than that. That the pixels are more light sensitive. Yep. Like you said, with all the filming aspects, I hope it really dominates in that field. Yep. The A7S series has always taken really good photos as well. Yep. They just haven't been huge photos. But for somebody who wants to shoot, for example, like social media quality, and is going out to like maybe a festival, where the light is crazy low, but you still want to keep that quality up, I really hope that thing just dominates.
Yeah, because if you haven't checked out the files from an S before, you really should, because it's something else. It's like bringing a prime when you only have a zoom.
It's crazy. I've seen people shooting in like moonlight.
Yeah, it's there's a story going around Norway about the dude getting lost in the woods.
I haven't heard this.
He didn't have a flashlight. So we used the viewfinder of an S2.
Really?
Just cranked the ISO all the way up because noise was no problem.
I've never heard
out of
this.
the woods.
That's awesome.
So
That's badass.
apparently it's better than our night vision. So yeah.
Let's make it clear, we do not condone getting lost in the woods in darkness.
No, don't do it.
But if you do, bring the S.
Yeah.
Kala says 4K 60, 10 bits,
that's the dream.
W422. You know what? That is the dream.
Yep.
I don't want to promise anything. I don't want to get any hopes up, but I'm hoping for the same thing.
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping whatever it is, I hope it offers something that nobody else offers. And the way Sony's been releasing cameras currently, I'm guessing that's why it's taken so long.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it's like, well, letting people blow off their steam and then show them this bit. Hopefully.
People are getting carried away with rumors. There's some crazy rumors that people are throwing around. Some things that aren't physically possible in cameras at the moment. So I'm hoping, one, that Sony is just letting people sort of get out of the system. And two is really focusing on making this just head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, and also letting everybody try their stuff in terms of Canon making an 8K and the R5 and everything. I do not think 8K is the way to go yet because it's not light sensitive enough. If you have 8K, that's minimum 35 megapixels or something. It's huge. You're gonna have an R sensor, and that's not as light sensitive as a 4K sensor.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, it's basically 1/4 of the light if you have 8K instead of 4K native.
Yeah. And maybe like 3 of the 10,000 people you know have TVs that can play 8K.
Yeah, and you can say, but you can crop and you can oversample and you can do stuff.
Yeah.
Oversample from 6K, it's usually more than enough.
Plenty.
So that's sort of my hope, that the new sensor, it's native 6K and then downsample.
Yes.
4K. That's sort of a...
Kala brought something. Sorry, I just have to stretch my back a little bit. Oh, I'm dying. Kala brought up something that I was a little bit scared would be brought up.
Yeah,
Says
we saw that.
There's rumors, probably from Sony Alpha Rumors, the website, for one more camera also, the quote-unquote new type. Yeah. What is the new type? What could it be?
I really don't know. I don't know if they're going to bring in a new letter or if they're going to make a new number or if they're going to make something else. I don't know.
I am also extremely curious about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It might not be anything.
Yeah.
It might not be, there might not even be a new type, whatever it is they're talking about.
Yeah.
We've read rumors of like a curved sensor, which they're going to have to convince me that that's worth my while. I don't know what the hell that could be.
Took a while with the TVs.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If the TV's struggling curved as it is, then how is a sensor going to work? In which case, if they did do a curved sensor, would there just be like an opening in the camera? Or how does a lens work with a curved sensor?
Well, I guess you'd have to do something optically different, I think.
Like with the sensor zoom?
Because I guess if you can have I don't know.
Could you like just have one fixed lens and then have the sensor sort of fold and open so the sensor does the zooming?
Oh, wow. I don't think so, but maybe.
How sick would that be, though?
But then again, I think you can have more in focus and stuff, because, of course, the lens is a round, and also the focus point is a point, and then it's pointing back to the sensor. So the bigger the sensor, the more focus problems in the corners you'll have. Yes. So with the curved sensor, you'll probably have less focus and less chromatic aberration and stuff in the corners. But I don't know.
I'm going to toss something out. What if this new type is medium format?
That'd be dope. But then again, we need new lenses and everything, no?
Yeah. Now, we've seen Sony make moves like this before. Yeah. They got rid of the Meyr. They introduced new lenses. That was big. Yeah, but we do know for a fact that Sony can make a medium format sensor.
Yeah, they have the best on the market.
Yeah, the Phase 1.
Yeah.
The Phase 1 is a Sony sensor. So, knowing that, could that be a thing? Could Sony decide to dip their toes into the medium format industry?
I really don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
That'd be pretty badass.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kala? What do you guys in the chat think? What would this new type of camera sensor be? what would this new type of camera be? Maybe it's not even limited to a sensor. Maybe we're thinking in the wrong area.
It might be just a different type spec, like resolution, sensitivity, and then something else. I don't know.
What if the camera itself is different? What if it's like a baseball or shaped like a football? What if it's different? What if the camera itself is different? What could they do differently?
Full frame action camera.
There you go. Full frame action camera. What if it's just the sensor?
I don't know.
You just sort of hold the sensor, and that's perfect size. I'm very curious to see what that is. Me too. I have no idea.
Let's hope something comes this month.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The rumors are saying June, but no idea.
Yeah.
Kala is saying it would be nice with a faster, better RX R2. We were talking about this before we started this stream. Do you use the RX R2? It is a badass camera. It is insanely cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool camera.
But I'm curious as to, does Sony want to continue that line? Or do they want to bring those users over to the 7?
I don't know. Maybe it's a stepping stone in between Leica guys and Sony. Maybe they wanted to bring the guys to an A7 or an A9, but they need a step in between, maybe.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'd be curious. And if it is, I'd be very curious to use it because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. It'd be nice to have a camera that's just no pressure in terms of changing lenses. You just have what you have and you get to focus on mastering that.
Yep.
I think that in itself sounds very fun to me.
Absolutely.
Philip asks, how much does a Phase 1 cost and is it meant only for photography? I don't think you want the answer to the first one.
Oh, that's like buy a car.
Yeah, it's
buy a nice car.
I think right now the newest one, body only, is like the 150 megapixel one is like 500,000 kroner.
Something like that. Yeah, and that's without the glass.
It's a lot of money, but you know what? It's a lot of quality. That they make a great camera.
Absolutely.
They make a hell of a camera.
Yep. I don't think it's for anything else on photography.
No, I don't think you're filming with that.
That would be hot.
But I've seen some pretty crazy things done in terms of photography with that camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen people shoot from drones. And yeah, I saw somebody do like a kayak shoot where they hung it from a drone.
Oh.
That's insane. Yeah, they hung it over a waterfall and shot the kayak going over the waterfall. That blows my mind.
Wow.
I want to try something like that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I want to try something. I'll see if I can make a project like that where I can do something crazy. Yeah, that'd be insane. But yeah, that you don't want to know the price. And yes, I think it's very photography oriented. If it films at all, I don't think it films at all.
I think it has some of it. No, I actually haven't tried one yet. But then again, the price, it's almost like our Sony Venice camera, which is the same price without anything.
Yeah,
it's just the body. It's meant for another business than us usual.
Yeah, it's not a consumer level camera. It's a professional.
It's way beyond pro as well. Almost.
Yeah,
It's the top of the line fashion studio. Of course, you can bring it out for landscapes and stuff as well. But yeah, it's just a different type camera. It's just for the ones that can't compromise in any way and just want the best of the best, and the money isn't an issue. Yeah.
Actually, I know for a fact that a lot of their sales, at least in Norway, come from people who are documenting like archival material.
Oh, yeah.
Like they have it on a fixed rig pointed down at a table, and they will bring like old artworks in, and to document these old artworks, they will use the camera because it's just uncompromising in terms of quality. So
then you could use an A7R4 with a pixel shift as well.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really could, actually. Damn.
Bit more after work.
Yeah, a little bit more.
You got 240 megapixels to play with.
Yeah, and you're saving the 500,000 kroner plus the lens. Yeah, so you're saving quite a bit of money.
If there's somebody out there with an R4, you should really check out the pixel shift.
How many megapixels does that go up to?
240.
200? So what the hell?
16 combined shots. So the geeky parts of you, the CMOS sensor is not fully censored with each color. It's sort of a check.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pattern. Yeah.
And the first 4 is just filling out all the colors. So you get full color information out of every picture or pixel. Sorry. And then you take 4 times that again, which is 16, and then combine the resolution as well. So you got 240 megapixels with full Yeah, you should check that out. I did some shots in Bjørvika
Yeah.
of barcode, some architectural stuff, and I did plan to print it out actually, but Corona hit, and then we were gonna, basically print it. You could print it as big as you want.
Yeah.
It could be really big.
If you need some prints, by the way, I know a guy who kills it in the print department. His name is Roger Holman. He is probably in the chat right now. Roger,
Cool.
hit us up with some deets, or I can forward the information on to Lars.
Absolutely.
I have taken a tour through his facility, and it's amazing. They kill it. They kill it in terms of prints.
That's cool. I'll check it out.
Let's do a little activity here. Let's build the perfect Sony setup for a couple different camera users. Let's do 3. Let's go for the vlogger.
Yep.
Let's go for the adventurer, and let's do it for the action photographer.
Yep.
Let's do those 3. Let's assume commercial doesn't factor into that. Let's just do those 3. So if we start with the vlogger, where are you starting?
Well, the starting point and actually the new camera.
Yes.
This guy.
Agreed.
This is really a do it all in one package. Buy an extra battery, the grip, and a memory card, and you're off to go.
Yes.
If you want something more advanced than this, maybe a 6400 with the same grip.
Insanely fast camera.
Yeah, it's really, really fast. So something lightweight, which you want to bring, basically. That's probably my...
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I've tried vlogging before, and I brought like a gimbal with me, like one of the old gimbals that was mechanical, and oh my god, it's just ridiculous. You get one super strong shoulder, and the footage is like barely worth it. So to have something like this finally, I think changes a lot of things, and I'm really excited to try it at some point. I'm really excited.
And the cool thing about this, it's pre-set up for easy use, but it has all the advanced stuff.
Yeah.
You can shoot HLG and S-Log and all that stuff.
That's crazy.
So you can use this and match it with your A7 III if you want to have it as a second shooter as well.
It goes to S-Log 3?
I think so.
Jesus. So you can shoot super flat.
Yeah.
Ever says I might do that too, Roger. Roger, you better be giving me commission on this. Yes, just send Roger a message on IG. He will help you out. We are fact checking right now. I'm fairly certain it does.
Turn it off.
And he turned it off. But I'm fairly certain it does do S-Log 3.
3 and S-Log 2.
So it shoots very, very flat, which is just fantastic. Super, super useful. Professional quality.
Yep. S-Log 3 and HLG.
So let's go to the adventurer.
Yeah.
What is the adventurer ideal setup?
Sort of depends if you're doing only photography or movie and photography.
Let's just go with photography because that's what we know about.
Well, my setup is the R3, but then again, you can have an R4 or an 7.3 as well.
Assuming you have a tripod with you.
Yeah, depending on the budget and the tripod and everything. So if you have an A7 III, it's also a really great body. It's not as big files, but usually if you publish online, it's way...
Yeah. I've been using it religiously for the past year and a bit, so
and then I would bring a wide angle lens, 16-35 or the
phenomenal lens.
Yeah.
You can get it in f4 as well. It doesn't have to be the G Master.
Yeah, and
so
it's
you can save a little bit of budget.
So it's still really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's more your department than mine. I'd bring something depending on what you're doing while you're adventuring, of course. If it's landscapes, it's wide. If it's birds, it's of course not wide.
Yeah.
But
the one thing that I found very interesting when I first tried out the 16-35 2.8 is how light it is.
Yeah.
That it blew my mind that camera doesn't weigh, or that lens doesn't weigh more than it does.
Yeah,
so throwing that in the backpack and hiking with it is super good.
Yep.
And that saves some weight where you can bring maybe a tighter one. Like, I don't know, a zoom, like I bring the 85. The 85 is a weird one for adventure stuff, but as long as you're willing to walk, I really, really, really love that.
And if you're walking with somebody, using them as a model,
Yeah.
Just walking really further back.
Yeah.
And compress the background and everything.
Yeah, you
With
get
an
crazy
85,
scale.
It's really cool.
Crazy scale. You can bring mountains right up to the model, and it makes it look really, really cool. Ever says, I know a lot of people who also vlog with the A7 III or R3, since it also has a killer camera for cinematic and also for photos while editing on the go, as a lot of vloggers are. Yes, nowadays you need to be able to do both, right? You need to promote your vlog. You need to publish on Instagram and whatever.
Yeah, so the ZV-1 is more of a starting point than the end point. Of course, you could vlog with whatever you like. So
what megapixel, how large is the sensor for the, let's start with that. How large is the sensor on that?
It's called a 1-inch type. It's not technically actually 1 inch, but it's close to 1 inch. And then you have, so it's sort of the same size difference between crop. So it's sort of a cropped crop.
Okay.
Or a cropped APS-C, sort of. And then you have the APS-C size, which is 1.5 times a crop from the full frame. And then you have the full frame, which is the A7 series.
Yeah.
And the A9.
And how many megapixels comes with the vlog
20.
camera? 20.
Yeah. So
20 is enough. You
more
can
than
still
enough.
crop plenty with 20.
Yeah, for photos, it's more than enough. And for video, it gives you even more stabilization. So
there you go.
Yep.
That's fantastic. So there really is no reason to feel guilty about not having an A7 or a 7 series.
But of course, if you have one,
you're going to get better pictures.
buy the same grip. It works for the same camera.
It's true.
Buy a light lens.
There you go.
Buy something like a 24 or a 20 or 1635 or something, depending on how strong you are.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there's some pancake lenses out there as well.
Yeah.
Which is really light for gimbals and stuff. So there's no reason to buy down if you have an A7 III.
Yeah.
That's a good camera as well to vlog with.
So what was the final one that I said? I said vloggers, adventure, and
Sports.
action. Yes.
Yeah.
What's the ideal setup for the action photographer?
I'd have an A9.
The A9.
A9.
The monster, the beast.
A9 or an A9 II, depending on your budget.
Yeah.
A9 II takes a bit more of a beating in terms of weather and stuff.
And the grip is much more
grip is better, and it's a brand new camera, but still the same sensor. So if you're fine with the older body, you can save some money on the A9, and it's a really, really fast camera. It's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
Checks the focus 60 times per second.
Yeah.
So even though you're just taking 20 of them, which is more than enough, you can check it checks the focus for you 3 times per picture. So if it's a race car coming towards you, for example, you don't only check it once you take the picture.
Yeah.
Check it 3 times, and then
oh my
2
god,
in between, and then 1 per picture.
that's too smart.
And then with the AI technology and everything, it's just really good at knowing patterns and colors and everything. Some of you might see in the boxing demo video with the guy with the blue shorts and the guy with the red shorts.
I haven't seen that, no.
And then he starts tracking on the guy with the blue shorts, and he gets out of frame but comes back in, and the camera knows, well, this guy has blue shorts. We need to track him.
It's genius.
Yeah, it's really, and it's super fast, and it's blackout free. If you've come from an 1DX or something, it's also really fast. It's a good camera. But blackout free AVF, EVF, it's something else.
It's very
really
useful. You don't miss a second. You don't miss a second.
And it's not like it's showing the last picture till it's buffered out. It's actual blackout free.
Yeah.
It's not lag, it's not blackout. It's just there.
That is a luxury.
Picture. Yeah.
That is a luxury. That's something that I grew addicted to when I had it. I had the A9. I love that function.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Shooting action was crazy for that, especially really, really up close when you're shooting wide and something moving fast.
Yep.
On any other camera, people drop out of the screen, but when you can shoot 20 frames a second at RAW, that is phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's not about saving all 20 files.
No.
It's just saving the right
having that
specific
moment. Yeah. I was shooting slalom skiing, for example, and when slalom skiers ski and they hit a gate, it takes the gate no time to go from vertical to hitting the ground. Yeah. And to get that one shot where it's bent around the skier, that you need that 20 frames a second.
Absolutely.
That's super key.
Yeah.
And lenses wise, for action, this once again the 16 to 35.
Yeah.
We keep praising that, but my God, that is a good lens.
And actually, for sports, I usually like to get either tight or wide.
Yeah.
So I usually don't use anything in between 35 and 70.
Yeah.
So I usually jump straight to 70, 200.
Yes.
Then I get just a different vibe, and I can move differently, and I can, well, of course, if you have to have a 50, it's a good lens for sports as well.
Yeah, super useful.
But then again,
especially if you're shooting like urban sports, like skating or breakdancing or something like that, where you don't have too much space to back up, but you still want to get like kind of a telephoto effect. 50 does that.
Absolutely.
And the 70-200, you cannot ever overestimate the value of a 70-200, especially at 2.8. Phenomenal. Super useful.
And of course, if you're talking the real high-end sports, it's 400, 600.
Yes.
That's, well, most of us are not in that league.
Yes. Should we answer some? So I posted a story on Instagram earlier today, and I asked for people to send me questions for the live stream, and people have. And if you're here, thank you very much. If you're not here, sorry. Check it out later. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. We will go through some of these and answer them. And I think this is a pretty good way to finish off. So let's go through. Let's start with the first one. Dragoman Paul, I have seen you in the chat before. I know you exist on this channel, so I'm hoping you're still there. It says, what is your favorite aperture when you shoot sports? I'm a big fan of 2.8 or 2. If your autofocus is fast enough, which it should be, if you're shooting sports, you have no excuse. Then you can shoot a 2.8 or 2 and really get good depth of field, like really nice, because it gives a lot of focus on the athlete and the action. And you can also shoot very high shutter speeds in low light, which is super useful because shutter speed is everything when you're shooting action. And it just sort of creates a better look. I mean, it's unstoppable. So aperture, I like to go wide when I'm shooting action. What about you?
Yeah, me too. It's just having the ability to freeze the moment. It's usually more important than having everything in focus. Because usually with an athlete, it's usually about sort of encapsulating their feeling in the moment of their sport. So if it's a swimmer or it's a skier, you really want to just focus on their performance in the moment right there and then. So then usually I'd like to rather have just the eyes in focus of the swimmer, for example, than have his teammate.
Yeah, or the water he's kicking up.
Because he's not thinking about the waters he's kicking up. So
exactly. You want to put him in that moment. Petter Hermans. I know Petter Hermans is also loyal to the stream. Good man. The filmer champion of the world himself. Mr. Petter Hermans asks, appropriately, spill the beans about the A7S already. My God, if I had a nickel. Like we said earlier in the stream, we don't know. We don't know. They don't tell us.
I would really like to be the one that spilled those beans on the internet. Being that famous guy that got kicked out of Sony. But I actually don't know, so I can't be that guy.
But it's whatever it is, and whenever it is, it's going to kick a lot of ass. And if it is.
And hopefully we'll have it soon.
Yes, that would be nice. PHM Visuals asks, how do you show... PHM Visuals, I know you're in the chat. You are asking, how do you show clients who bargains on the price that you give them value for the amount? So... this is a more industry-focused question, a professional kind of commercial-focused question. This one is basically asking, if a client is trying to bargain down your price, how do you prove to them the value of it? The client's worth having, you don't have to do that, is the short answer. You shouldn't have to justify yourself. And typically, if the budgets are low enough that they're negotiable, you can, I hate to say this because it sounds cocky, but you can live without it. So you can threaten to just say no. I would just say no if a client starts to bargain down, because like extreme bargains where they're trying to get it down to like 25% or something where they think this is how photography should be valued. I just say no. It's not worth my time. It's not going to happen, because they're not going to find anybody else either. Nobody else at your skill level is going to be offering that or is going to be accepting that job anyway. So just say no, walk away.
Dare to set your price. Your time is valuable as well.
Exactly. And I promise you, you're not the only one setting prices that high. That's just industry standard. So be proud of your price. And if you feel like you have to justify it, show them your pictures. Sure, they're badass, right? You got great pictures. They're going to want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
He had a second question. That's against the rules, but I'm going to take it. How many years have you been in professional photography business? Me, I've been a professional photographer for 7 years, 6 or 7 years, something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure. The difference between you being professional and not being professional is that you just say you're a professional.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because if you'd say how long I'd lived off of it, 100%, that's probably...
That's like 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I don't know exactly, but I'm gonna go with 6 or 7 years. What about you? Would you call yourself a professional photographer?
Well, yes, but not full time now.
Okay.
Because I'm also working in Sony and I love it in Sony, so I sort of get to do both my nerdy stuff and the photography part. But I opened up my firm and everything about 7 years ago.
Yes.
It's probably more 4 or 5 years ago I got serious about it.
Okay.
With the wedding and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 years, I guess.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
There you go. So that is the correct answer. Frank Dahl, I'm not so sure if you're in the chat, but I appreciate you dropping the question. If you are in the chat, let us know. Get in there and write some stuff. He says, hi, can you share? First of all, I love that you wrote hi. Hi. Hello. Can you share some tips on how to edit for prints on different materials? Wow. No. The short answer is no. I'm by far and away not a print nerd. I don't know anything about it. I do know that Roger Holman, once again, who is in the chat, is a print nerd and he knows his shit. So send him a message.
Probably ask him.
Yeah, send him a message. He'll know. Or wait for his live stream whenever he does it. Come on, Roger. Keep up. We're all doing it. Yeah, that's the short answer. I mean, I don't know if you know more than I do.
No, it's, well, depending if you have the printer yourself or not, I think. It's different workflow if you have the material and can do test prints and everything. The process is a lot different than just sort of giving the control away. You need to do more stuff in advance probably.
Yeah.
But then again, well, the guys I've been printing through, they've usually helped me out more than enough. So if you ask a guy like Roger, he's probably more than willing to help you out a bit.
Trust the professionals.
Yep.
Photo by Villas. Villas is a cool name. Am I saying that right? Villas? Villas would be a cool name too. The Spanish version. Photo by Villas asks, how do you become a Sony ambassador? And he asks it with the sweating laughing face because I think I know why. Oh my God, I wish I had an answer. Sony Norway has so few spots for the ambassador program.
Unfortunately, we're not as big as the US and stuff.
Yeah. They don't really have that. I had to make a spot for myself.
Yep.
There were only 2 spots and I had to add the 3rd one.
Yep.
And I guess I explained this a little bit at the top of the live stream, but basically what I did is begged. I don't recommend it, and I don't recommend begging me because I don't have an answer. I don't think Lars has one either.
Nope.
But you shoot tons, as much as possible. Yep. Shoot in a way that you think best represents your photography and why your photography is unique.
Yep.
Why your photography is unique to the brand as well. Not just unique in general, but unique to the brand. Figure out what you can offer the brand in terms of feedback, like, for example, a sponsored live stream. Yeah. Try to come up with unique stuff and just sort of figure out your place within the brand's atmosphere and environment and see if you can fill that gap.
Yep.
Also figure out who to talk to, get feedback on everything you're doing. It took me like a year and a half of feedback from Sony before we sort of got on the same level. And even then, it took a while to build this relationship until it became, I don't know, like on a plateau where we were both standing. Yep. So that would be my recommendation. You also asked, Photo by Villas, what is the best way to start getting paid jobs and how did you start? Ooh, okay. So I have a formula that I know works for me. Yep. I don't know if it's the same route that everybody else went, but I highly recommend it. Start with events. Shoot events shoot for venues, shoot for companies, for friends, anybody who's having an event. You won't end up making too much money through that route, but that's a good way to start meeting people. If you're not in a position where you can introduce yourself to new clients, new people who might be relevant to your photography, you're not really going to grow in terms of your commercial photography. And you can't really call yourself a professional if you don't have many commercial interests. So start with events, shake a lot of hands. Events will be sponsored by certain people. For example, I was shooting a lot of events for locations in Oslo, one in particular called Lavo. I was young and I could tolerate that kind of industry. And Lavo had sponsored events by companies like alcohol companies in the alcohol industry. They needed photos, so I met the person who did that. I insisted on a meeting, and I just sort of worked my way up from there. Oh. What about you? How did you start?
Quite similar. I did a lot of events, and the events grew into wedding photography, which is my main business part. Of course, it started out with my sister, actually, so I was sort of lucky. So I get your sister to get married, I guess.
Me?
No.
Okay.
But if you want first job, probably get some family member or something. Just
get a family member married.
Yeah, that's probably the best bet. No, but I think having sort of done some jobs, so you have something to show, and then just be proud enough to set your price.
Yes.
Just don't undersell your stuff just because you're new.
Yes.
I know a guy that started photography last year, and he's way past me. And it's like, he's so talented. And just because
we're talking about prices, he's past you. That's
no
price isn't everything. Come on.
Not in price.
Okay.
I mean in skill. He's really talented. He's got the eye for photography. And just because he's not been in the game too long doesn't mean he's not good.
Yeah.
Just because you just started out doesn't mean you're not good enough to have a price.
Yeah.
And the people in the professional business will thank you for having serious prices, because you having 2 weak prices is only going to bring everybody down.
Yes.
And
yes, we've seen it before. Yeah, people undercutting prices and sort of challenging the industry in that sense.
Yeah, and then if you're a part-time photographer, which does not live off the photography part, you can live with shitty pay. But if it's your main job, you cannot. So
no, you got to go 100%.
Yeah,
you got to believe in your photography. One last piece of advice that is maybe the most generic and uninteresting piece of advice is just keep shooting.
Yep.
Shoot tons. Shoot constantly. When I started, I've told this story before, but when I started, I was shooting until like 4 a.m. every night. And then editing like all day and going back out and shooting. And I would do like 2 times a day where I would just go outside and shoot. Like Saturdays when everybody's partying, that's a cool opportunity to get some cool like low light night shots. Yep. You just walk around with a camera and avoid the scary places. And then just try shooting new things. Try long exposures. Try shooting handheld. Just try new things and keep going until your skills just add up and the right people see your photography. Keep it visible and keep pushing in that direction. Impfly, did I pronounce that correctly? Impfly, that's a cool name. Asks, which travel-friendly tripod for A7 III with 70-200 2.8 would you use for video and photography? Oh, wow. Tripods. Do you know much about tripods?
I know some about them, but I don't have the names and the numbers in my head right now.
Me neither. I would go for something, I hate to say it, but in terms of height and how tall the tripod is, I don't like sacrificing. I like to have something that's like 180, something that's tall and can keep up with my head height. Just because I like if you're shooting over an edge and you don't want the foreground to be the edge of whatever you're shooting, you don't want to have to stand right on the edge of a precipice just to get a badass shot. So I don't really like to sacrifice, but what I did ended up doing, I think was the smartest idea I'd ever spent money on, was getting a carbon fiber tripod. Yeah,
it's going to save your back.
Yeah, just having something that one is going to save your back and 2 is going to save weight when you're traveling. I love that. Carbon fiber is key.
And if you're doing a lot of movie, put more money in the head than, or of course a carbon stand is going to be expensive, but fluid heads are not the same.
Yeah.
Go to a store, get to try them, feel how the fluidness feels,
Yes.
just to make sure it's actually a good head.
Test everything.
Doesn't have to be the biggest brand out there, the most expensive, but just, well, usually it's a good thing to note that movie heads are something different than photography.
Yeah.
Because photography ball heads is just to set them and it's done.
Yeah.
But having fluid heads and counterweights and everything, it's just a different way of working.
We have one more question, and then I think we'll wrap with this question.
Yep.
I think this is a good one to add on. We've been going for 1 hour and 35 minutes. That's impressive. I didn't think we would make it that far. That is impressive. This final question comes from our good friend Dennis, who I know is in the chat. He is asking, who is stronger, you or Lars? And I think there is only one objective way to figure that out, and that is a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Whoa, you got me there.
So here we go. Rock, paper, scissors. On scissors, you go rock, paper, and then on scissors, you release the demon.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Rock, paper, scissors. And there you have it. I am stronger.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Petter Herman says, Kyle, get him to spill the beans on the A7S already. We've tried, Petter. We've tried a million times.
I really, from my heart, do not know anything. I'd love to spill the beans, but I really don't know. You have to trust me.
Go back and rewatch this podcast or live stream, whatever this is, and hopefully you'll catch up and you'll know as much as we do.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Once again, this live stream is brought to you by Sony Alpha Cameras, the brand who believes in me and I trust with my life. Thank you for being here, Lars.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here, to brave the corona, to come all the way out here and join me on set.
This is a meter. It's just an optical illusion.
It's a very tight lens. Don't even worry about it. And on that note, thank you guys very much. Thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah. I will see you again on Monday.
Yeah, with Flores Smith.
Where I will be streaming with Flores.
And don't forget to check out our event.
We have an event, and if you didn't hear, we are going hiking in Nordmarka, and we are going to shoot some awesome nature stuff. And you guys are invited. The details are coming a little bit later, but it is June 19th to the 20th.
Yeah, and there's a rumor about a burger off and everything. So
yeah, we're cooking cheeseburgers.
You want to be there.
Cheeseburgers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Come enjoy my cheeseburgers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Happy to have you here. Thank you for joining the chat. Tell your friends. Go out there, keep shooting. I believe in you. Kill it every day. Peace. End.